Hey guys, we are hot. We are hot. Welcome to Kenny. We need like some Jeopardy music or something to play during the share around segment of the show. Do,
Do, do,
do,
do,
do,
do,
do,
do.
do, do, do. Folks, you might see a face you do not recognize as we're in the share around section, but Terry Foles is our guest today, and you'll find out why here shortly. But hang with us while we do the share around stuff, and then we will go full tilt boogie after we let the music play. Let me see some. I know there's going to be some comments chiming in here. Not yet. 7 people. Okay. Oh, there it is. Here now. Terry, feel free to share this around if you want to your tracking page. If you want to, you're on your phone. It'll be harder for you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not very technically challenged. I am
Or
technically challenged.
yeah, don't feel like the lone stranger. Maybe we should have an episode with you and Ralph talking about the technical challenges.
I did put it on there to tell them to tune in tonight, and didn't tell them why, but so we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. Bear with me. Let me get
So Calvin said Motley Crue there. He must be talking about the two of y'all.
Oh yeah, he knows us.
I know you're talking about me because we've already established that I play the role of the pretty face.
You mean voice? You said voice wrong.
Oh, I mispronounced voice. Okay. Crap. Hold on. You're distracting me, man. I got to get it in these groups. I got to get it in these groups. Oh man, that's funny. Oh, let's see. Oh, you got it in the. Okay, let me grab a couple more Michigan groups, and we'll let the music play, man. Yeah, you already got that one. All right, good deal. All right.
Oh man,
what's the matter?
I clicked on the wrong thing. That's okay.
Who is Terry? Vicky, you're going to find out all about Terry. Stand by as we let the music play, man. Pay attention to this music and this banner. These people are offering members some nice benefits that would be great if you took advantage. Shakalaka bam, here we are talking about tracking and tracking data. That's the theme of the night, boys, on the Tuesday Night Live. Tracking and tracking data and how to use it. You can have all the data you want, but how are you using it? And tonight we're going to talk a lot about that with multiple ways of capturing the data that is useful, and then how are we using it? How can you use it? What do you use it for?
How to track it.
And how to track it. Yeah, the means and methods for which to track it. That's exactly right. So let me introduce the guest tonight. Today is friend, fellow tracker, fellow Michigan Deer Tracking Network member, Terry Foles. And the reason we asked Terry to join this very appropriately themed night is because Terry, many of you will recognize him as the as the developer of the tracking journal, and we'll show you more about it. But here it is, right here, the tracking journal. It's on Amazon. You can get it from Terry. It's out there, and many of you are using it. And Terry, we're going to dive into some of this. Kenny has seen it and provided some feedback on it, and we're going to be looking at some of that. We're going to let Terry tell us about it. So before we dive into it, though, Terry, why don't you give us the the 2-minute bio, Terry Foles, Boyer, Tracker and Boyer?
I'm not sure what you want to know, but let's see.
Social security number, bank account, stuff like
that. Yeah. I've been tracking this is my 5 full years. So my dog will be 5. We started her when she was just we trained her when we got her and started tracking when she was a puppy, like probably most people do. She was about, 8 months old or so. And I struggled my first year like everybody. I mean, I really had a hard time understanding this game of tracking. So as the years went on and as I got mentored people, I was trying to track my data, and I really had a hard time with it because I had 5 different notepads at work and my truck and everywhere, both my vehicles, and I couldn't keep it all together. And I create Excel sheets to put it all on there. So I just kept thinking, why don't we have something that we can create a journal that we could put it all in one place? And so it kind of took some time and a few years, and I hired a I don't know what you call them, publisher, and worked with some fellow trackers and kind of find out what data we want, what do we want to capture. Mm-hmm. And a couple of people mentored me, told me what questions do I ask when I'm tracking, what do I ask and what's important and what's not important. So that's kind of how this came about. Some of it's just basic information, and then the rest of it has to do about the shot placement, what the deer, do, all that kind of stuff. What are you shooting? And that's kind of how it developed. And I thought, hey, maybe the public wants it. So I started just doing sheets on my own for a while, and then hired a publisher and asked if they thought it'd be a good idea. And I thought so. So kind of this is where we're at. This is my 2nd year with it. So.
Nice. What are you tracking with?
I am tracking with a Bavarian Mountain Hound, River.
River, the Bavarian Mountain Hound.
River, yes. She's a pretty cool dog.
At least it's not a bloodhound.
Yeah, at least.
Well, hey, man, not everybody can be the best, Kenny. I mean, I get it.
She's a handful.
Gotta have something to aspire to, buddy.
Matt did get to see a video of my old bloodhound last night.
I did. Oh, okay. I did. Yep. And it was it warmed my heart to see Kenny with a good tracking dog, and a very it was a really good video. He's working off lead. It was good stuff. River, the badass, as my wife says, Dylan Major says about River, Terry.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Terry and I have been friends for a while. He I appreciate he welcomed me when I was just a aspiring tracker. Could hardly spell tracking when I was admitted into the Michigan Deer Tracking Network, and we've developed a friendship. And we talk, weekly, sometimes a couple times a week, just talking tracking stuff. And it's just how friendships develop in the tracking community in general. And glad to have you on, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your stuff, and we'll dive into it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll dive into the nitty gritty, and I know Kenny's got a lot of years of experience and a lot of good information to share about the data, which I have my notepad ready. But Kenny, you got any questions or clarifications or intros or anything you want to?
No, I just, I do want to say this falls right in line with our training series that we just had, because this data is very important when it comes to training, because a lot of people said, well, what do you do after the training?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the training never stops, for one.
Right.
But this information that you collect will show what you need to work on. And, we can dive into that some more in a little bit, but Larry says too early for the bloodhound.
Yeah, that's what I was chuckling at too.
Yeah. So But no, this is very important stuff. I think that a lot of this is misused, and we can talk about that. I'll just I'll go ahead and start with that. I'll start with the negative side of data.
Yeah.
So that we can move past that and get on with the positive side.
We'll call it the dark side. The
dark side is people use this data as a means of marketing, and you see a lot of terms like not accounted for, found, a deer that was found. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means they're using that term to up their success rate because they located the deer, whether it's alive or dead, whether they can even confirm if it's the same deer. They're just saying that they found a deer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it really comes into play with the drone side of things. And when you see those high numbers, a 95% deer accounted for. So I will say, I personally feel that these numbers should never be utilized as a means of evaluating the success of a team. And the reason I say that, because those numbers alone does not share the full story.
That's right.
Agreed.
So yeah, they're not an indicator of the quality of the team, generally speaking. And you're right. It's talked about to nauseum in network chats and Facebook and in podcasts and stuff like this, that numbers can be used in nefarious ways, and numbers can be very misleading. And we'll talk more about that, and it's all qualifier. So,
yep. So, I guess let's get started. Terry, what do you like to track? Tell us the data that you track.
So I on this journal, I set it up. So when I first got into tracking, I had a couple of guys that I went to all the time. Hey, what question? The thing is, the new trackers, we don't. I really believe that before we start testing dogs, we need to teach trackers, right? Teach trackers how to handle their dogs, what to look for in their dogs, how to utilize their dogs, and how not to screw them up, which I'm sure I've done. Probably a lot of us do. So with that said, I would call a buddy of mine or two, and I'd say, "Hey, I got this call, and what do you think?" And they said, "Well, what did they shoot? What did they shoot it with?" "Well, a bow." "Well, what kind of bow?" "Well, usually it's a crossbow." And then they ask like, "Well, did they have a mechanical head or a fixed blade?" I'm like, "I don't know." "Well, you need to call them back and find out." And then they'd say, "Well, was he in a tree or on the ground?" I'm like, "I don't know." "Well, you need to call them back and these are ongoing conversations for over different tracks and things like that. I would forget what to ask, right? Because I'm all caught up in a moment. I'm young, new tracker, don't really know what I'm doing, and most of it's archery, right? So in
your area.
In my area, yes. Most of what I track is archery shot deer. And most of what we track, I don't know the exact data, is most of it's crossbow shot deer, right? And most of it's mechanical broadheads. That's probably the majority of what we track here. And I track in Michigan. I don't know. Some people may track a lot. I know some guys track a lot more gun shot deer than I do. I just don't in my area.
Gotcha.
So if I just go down the list, I don't know if Matt, if you can share, there you go, you can share it. So I got at the top of it, I have just a basic data, right? So I always gather information on a scratch pad when I'm talking to them on the phone. And I'll say, okay, who are you? I put the date in there, their name. I got license number and I got phone number in there, but I really don't put that in my data because I don't really need it. But some people want it, and some states I think require it. So I have, the date, and that date is when I talked, when they shot the deer. And then there's more information down to gather, more information on date down below. But location, I basically just put, Fowlerville and then County Livingston. I know all the towns and counties around here, so that's kind of what I put. And then we go in the shot time and date. When you start tracking, somebody says, well, they have multiple dogs. Can we put dog name on there? So I put dog. I don't ever put that in there because I only have one dog. And then Um, how many hours? How many hours has it been? Typically, I'm always plus 12 hours. And then we record the animal track. Was it a buck, a doe? That's
Hey, can I
majority.
stop? Can I stop you
Yep,
there real quick?
yep.
If you don't mind, let's kind of break this down in a segment
Okay.
because I have some questions for you.
Sure.
What do you utilize all that information for as far as date, name, phone number? What do you do with that?
That's a record keeping for me. And if I ever get contacted by the DNR, I have it on a book, right? So, and I keep a historical data. I have people on my phone who I have. I want to know who I'm tracking for. I know there's been instances where there's been property issues, trespassing issues. We try to minimize that, but it happens. I mean,
Right.
You're only as safe as the information they give you. Hey, can you go over on Mr. Smith's property? Oh yeah, I've known him for years. He lets me go over there. We go over there. Next thing you know, the guy he's leasing it to is calling, running out there in his truck. We've had this happen before, running us down. What are you doing over here? Well, Mr. Smith said we could come track deer. Well, I lease this property. No, you can't. Call me next time, things like that.
Gotcha.
So this information, just basic data. Who am I tracking for, and when did I track, and where did we track at? Right.
And Terry, if I could interject there too, Terry, for us in Michigan, we are required to report these tracks to the DNR. And this top section here, date, name, license number, and location. And location, I don't think is really required, but most of us do give it.
It used to be.
They used to be. I don't think it is anymore. But the date, name, and license number are absolutely required.
They are required.
We have to report those numbers to the DNR through a text. It's easy.
Yeah, that whole page right there, Terry, is actually almost identical to a sheet that I've been using for years. And I wanted to ask those questions for an answer later on, or some feedback later on that I want to give when we get to the bottom. But I just wanted to ask that to kind of, in case other people out there may wonder, well, why do you need someone's name, phone number, location? So we can move on now. I just wanted to.
It could be legal reasons, and it could be for personal reasons, but record keeping. I want to know who I'm tracking for. 5 years later, 10 years later, hey, I track for your uncle, I track for your grandpa, I track for you. It's been 5 years. Hey, look at here, back in 2025, we tracked for you. Now it's 2030. And this is where I think this stuff is going to come in handy. And I'm really kind of envious of the young guys. I'm 61 years old. These guys are in their 20s and 30s. They got a long career ahead of them. You think about having this data 10, 20 years down the road. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's going to be really valuable. So where do we want to go from here?
Well, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, I cut you off at the animal track shot distance. And we'll go ahead.
Yep. So the next section is just what animal did you track? I track almost exclusively bucks. I tracked 4 does last year, and that's not typical. Usually I get 1 or 2 a year. And usually if it is, it's usually a young person.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you charge for tracking?
I do.
Okay.
Yep. I do charge.
So what I find is people that set a fee, typically they track primarily bucks because people don't place that same value on a doe that they do.
That's true. So if somebody calls me, and I've had this happen plenty of times, it's for my nephew and he's only 16 years old. I'm like, well, I'll come track it for nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't always charge. I do set a fee as a general rule. And then sometimes guys will say, well, my wife's not going to let that happen. I'm like, all right, well then I'll just come out and track it. If you want to pay me whatever you can pay me. If you don't want to pay me anything, we'll handshake and we go with it. And I do that often. I always leave the door open, right?
Yeah. The problem is, I shouldn't say a problem. The problem that I see is a lot of people doesn't realize that if they're just looking, they're looking somewhere online, or they talk to someone. Oh yeah, he charges this much. So, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I find that to be the reason why one person tracks more bucks than does is because
And it could be.
hunters don't
Yeah.
place that same value. They just say, "Oh, I'll
I'll just
take
go shoot another one." Yeah.
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 But
Okay.
yeah. So I have elk on here because we have elk in Michigan, and then other states have elk. I have bear. We have a fair number of people that track bear. Where I live at and Matt live at, we don't have any bear here, but you go another hour and a half north of here, and they have bear, black bear. And then the UP. I know Al Sherman, he tracks a lot of bear in Michigan and in Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I've done a few bear tracks. I've never tracked a bear yet. I'd like to. Not sure, not sure what to expect, but it would be something interesting. I'd also love to track an elk, which I have not had a chance yet. But you have to go to northern Michigan, and it's a draw. Very limited tags in Michigan, so you really don't get that many opportunities to track elk in Michigan.
Right.
So then we move on from the animal track. It's just record keeping. What are we tracking? We're tracking a buck. And okay, so I'll ask them, well, how far was it? So I'll say 20 yards. And I'll say, were you in a tree or on the ground? I was in a tree. Okay, so now it's going to give me a shot angle. It's 20 yards out, 20 feet up in a tree. It's got a pretty decent shot angle on that. He could be right. He could say, hey, I was 20 feet up in a tree and he was 5 yards from the stand. We know that's going to be a tough track. That's going to be unless he spines it or hits it in the heart, he's going to one lung it if he doesn't hit the guts. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a tough track. So it's you kind of start laying the groundwork of what are you going to do with this track? Are you going to go on it right away? You're going to wait a while. You're going to give it the 12, 18, 24 hours, depends on the season for us. Typically for us in Michigan, I don't go on tracks under 12 hours unless it's been a shoulder shot or something we need to get on right away. I run my dog off lead now. So she can run deer, broken leg deer, things like that, shoulder shot deer. But it gives us a time, what are we going to do with this deer? How are we going to handle this track? When are we going to take it? So that's that second section there. So, animal tracked, and then, where was the deer standing? Where were you at? Try to get an idea. What did the arrow projectile have a chance to do? Did it go through it? Did it have not very good, steep angles, So any questions on that?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then we go down to the weapon. And then, so we, like I was saying earlier, a majority of my tracking is with crossbows is number one. Number two is compound bows, a few traditional archery bows. And then for me, guns would be the lowest. I only track a few, maybe a dozen tracks a year with gun. And it may change as I get more, my name's out there more and more and more,
So let me ask you this. As far as lethality or do you see a difference between crossbow and compound?
I think compound. So people who call us, I think compound shooters are a little more accurate under just where they hit the deer at. When they talk to you about shot placement, I think that they're a little more closer to where they wanted to be than a crossbow.
And on like my personal data, on average, they take less risky shots.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the marketing's different. You don't have Matthews showing 100-yard shots.
Right.
For their marketing,
I'm a traditional archer, so shot placement's everything for us. I mean, we're not taking, if I'm elk hunting, I'm going to take a longer shot. But typically on whitetail, I've never really killed a deer with my bow longer than 18 yards. We let them get close because we're not using sights. Our sight picture is completely different than a sights on a bow. And with the compound, you have typically a rear peep sight and a front peep sight. And it helps you line up a little better. On crossbows, if you're not resting that crossbow on something, you're shaking. I got a crossbow here for the grandkids, and the freehand crossbow is tough. They're heavy. and they're moving around a lot, especially if you get any distance. If you get anything over 30 yards, they're tough. I don't know how guys do it. Everybody thinks that they're easy to shoot. They're all easy to shoot off your, picnic table in your backyard. Get up in a tree, So compounds or crossbows, we shoot most. Compounds are second. I'm still up in the air on what I like better, mechanical or fixed. If it's the right mechanical broadhead I like, and if it's the right fixed blade I like.
What do you consider the right mechanical?
I like a 3-blade head no matter where it's at. Just because it makes a bigger hole, there's a lot more to cut. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know some guys love those big 2.5-inch, expandables. And if you shoot a deer with a 2.5-inch expandable, you're going to find that deer more than likely.
You shoot a deer with a fixed blade, you're going to find that deer.
Absolutely. Shoot them with anything, shoot them with a pencil, you're going to find it.
Yeah. So we can go off on a whole tangent there, but I'll say this. I will say this. Can you name one place that you can shoot a mechanical and kill it that you couldn't with a fixed blade?
No, not really.
Can you name a scenario where a fixed blade would kill it and a mechanical wouldn't?
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that for both of them. With a different, I guess you'd say, chance of killing. So where I'm going with that is I can name a scenario.
Yeah, well, I have a traditional archery background. I'm shooting really heavy cut-on contact broadheads.
Right.
And we know that if we have a failure, we still want our arrow to penetrate that deer. So I'm shooting, 600 grain arrows, 200 grains up front. The compound guys are starting to catch up with that now. Instead of shooting these really fast, light arrows, they're getting more kinetic energy out of a heavier arrow, more arrow weight front. I don't think crossbows even consider that. But a mechanic or a fixed blade broadhead will go through a shoulder blade better than a mechanical will, in my opinion.
Shoulder blade, a leg.
Yep, a leg.
When that leg's back and you're aiming at the heart or the frontal portion of the lungs, and all of a sudden it takes a step and that leg gets back. That's honestly, that's where you see most mechanicals fail to penetrate is in those scenarios. So that's why I will always recommend a fixed blade, because if you put it all out there, you look at all scenarios. And when we had Brian Johnson on, he leaned a little on the mechanical side, but he said, if you're going to aim further up towards that crease, you're going to be better off with the fixed. Well, that tells me I'm going to be better off with the fixed anywhere.
Right.
So, all right, we'll get off of that tangent.
I'm waiting. The comments have started with Dylan.
I track this data, and I can put it all up here. I mean, and it'll clearly show you that fixed is the way to go.
And I've shot plenty of deer with my longbow, 2-blade. I mean, I started out with a 2-blade broadhead. I mean, I've killed plenty of deer, but they were good shots. I mean, they were, if they were bad, they were in the liver, and that's how I got into the track. Because I lost a real big buck with a liver shot deer, a big buck, and I called a buddy of mine out, had a little dash out, and that's what got me interested. Never recovered the deer to get a property stop, but we were on its trail until that happened.
The one comment I'll throw in just to perpetuate the rabbit trail here, and then we can move on, is the mechanicals, no matter how many blades they are, there's a lot of energy dissipated in simply in the deployment of the blade. That is simply physics. None of us invented physics. It just is. So while it's using the energy to deploy the blade, it's taking away from the ability for that arrow to penetrate. So when you start getting into that dense material, that shoulder, that heavy muscle, that whatever it is, your chances, you're losing penetration. Now
Right.
the comments can blow up. I blow through every time. Yeah, a lot you're going to when you're broadside and you miss a rib and maybe hit one, but it doesn't change the physics that it takes energy to deploy a blade. That's all I
Right.
got to say about that.
Well,
No.
and one more thing.
Okay.
We all understand mechanical operations. Anything mechanical will fail at some point. It's
Yes.
not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
When, yeah.
Yep.
And we're not getting called for double long shots. That's not why they call us.
No.
Or double long butt shot.
We got a buddy down here named Jason Bell. He has them people trained. They call him before they even make the shot and say, "Hey, it's sitting in front of me. I'm about to make a shot. Get your dog ready."
I have oddly,
Yeah.
I have, we all have tracked a double lung. It's inexplicable how it went 400 yards and didn't bleed. I don't get it, but nonetheless,
I saved data. I saved pictures of deer that look perfectly shot and they're not found, and they were shot 2 weeks later.
yeah.
Unexplainable.
Well, let's
Okay.
continue walking us through your.
Okay, so then we go down to we know if it's a mechanical or fixed blade. So now I'm gonna ask them, did you get a pass through? Do you have the arrow? That's what we ask them. And if they do,
Yep.
I'm celebrating. I like all pass through arrows. Any arrow I get to pass through, the odds of recovery go up.
Check.
If it didn't go through, how much penetration do you have? How far do you think it was sticking in that deer? How much was sticking out of the deer? Give us an idea, where did you hit it at? You know what I'm saying? What's our chances of a lethality shot, or how we're gonna work on this deer? How are we gonna track this deer? And then, was the arrow broken? And I don't like broken arrows.
Nope.
Because obviously it hit something hard. I'll tell you, in the traditional archery world, the last deer I shot with my longbow was a doe, and I double lunged her and the arrow was broken half, and it was a carbon arrow. And I never found the front half of the arrow. I only had the second half of the arrow. And it's because that opposite leg come back and snapped it off, and who knows where it went. I never found it. I didn't put a lot of time into looking for it.
Yeah.
But it happens. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about typically compound crossbow shots.
Right.
They're broken because they hit something hard. But that's not always the case. Sometimes, like my case was, I didn't do anything. Deer went
You
60
don't know
yards.
unless you go.
Yeah, exactly. And it may not be any blood. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, it just, another 40 yards. I had a scenario. I told the guy, hey, go another 15, 20 yards. If you don't see any blood, and I was pretty sure his deer was dead, call me. I'll come out. He's like, man, it's starting to sprinkle. Just come out. So I went out there, another 15, 20 yards. I'm on my hands and knees. All of a sudden, it started spraying. Another 30, 40 yards up there, his deer was dead. It's like, I told you you didn't need me. It's like, yeah, but I wanted you. I'm like, all right. We went, middle of the night. So then, what did the arrow do? Did it pass through it? Was it stuck in the ground? Did you find your arrow? Was it missing? That happens too, and then it comes down and it jumps into gun caliber. Well, we up here in Michigan, where I'm at, we're in a shotgun zone only, or straight walled cartridge, which means 450, 350 legends, or shotguns, muzzle loaders. Up north where Daryl tracks and things like that, those guys are all rifle hunters, and they can shoot wherever they want. So now we go down to hit location, and that's where this chart Matt put this chart together for me on this left page here. I used the other one that everybody else uses, and I can't remember who the guy was that developed it years ago, but I actually got permission for him to use it, because my first year it came out, I had somebody call me on the phone or reached out to me and says, hey, just want to give you a warning. Are you okay with using this picture? It's like, yes, I have written permission to use it. He's like, okay. Because I think he ran into an issue with it. It was used in a publication. He didn't have permission. So the thing was copyrighted. So a way around that is I had Matt help me out, and we developed this one here, and this is, copyrighted by me. So, and this gives us both sides of the deer. And my thought process was on that. A lot of times I'll go to a guy and I'll say, hey, I always ask him, where do you think you hit it? And and he'll tell me, and he'll say, but it was on the other side of the deer. It's like, okay, I can deal with that. So now I have left, right side. We can put a little dot on there. I'm not going to do anything this year until I actually find the deer. I'm not going to put a mark on it. I'll record it down here.
How often are they accurate?
Not very often. I say put a pie plate on there. They're probably most of the time they're within that pie plate. But once in a while they are. I mean, some are accurate, but most often than not,
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah. So
A lot of adrenaline, a lot of excitement.
Over the years, I've quit placing any emphasis at all on where they think they hit it.
Yep.
Now, I mean, tracking it, I would put on there where they think they hit it. Indicate it, and then indicate where it was actually hit.
And that's where I have this. I have hit location, and I have actual location. You know what I'm saying? So here is hit location. They says, oh, I look at the chart here. I hit it, in C3. And on the other one, I think it was like D8 or something like that. C3. Left side, completely broadside. I'm like, well, you wouldn't be calling me if that's the case. More than likely, you hit it right in that pocket, or even C4. It's going to be in the middle of the lungs.
Yep.
So if we find a deer, then I write down actual location. And I think I have one chart here. It shows one of the examples I gave Matt. It shows he was accurate. He hit it where he thought he hit it. You know what I'm saying?
So have you thought about? I'll go ahead. I'll wait till Matt gets done.
No, go ahead.
So this is one of my pages I filled out. I sent to Matt. All right. So I can't really read it here. But what I do also as a historical thing is if we find that deer, I take a picture and I print it out and I glue it right in a little note section. So it's for me. You know what I'm saying? So 5-6 years later, Rivers passed away. I can pull that book out on my bookshelf, pull out 2025. What did we do? And I can go back and reminisce with it. And I think that's where the value for me is going to come in, is going back years with a hard cover. I'm a hard kind. Some people, oh, we got electronic copies. I'm a hard kind of copy guy. And for me, that's where the value is going to come in. For me, is I'll be able to go back on this stuff and reminisce. Probably shed a tear.
We lost you a little bit.
Yeah. So I put on there hit location, and I actually have for later on. If you find a deer, actual location, then I hit left side, right side. Was it quartering to you, or was it quartering away? And they get that wrong sometimes too. They'll say, "Oh, it's completely broadside." Hitting the front left, hit the front left lung, and exited in an intestine somewhere back there. It's like it wasn't broadside. Oh man, it sure looked like it. It's like, yeah, you had a pretty steep angle on that shot.
Yep.
So that's what I gather. I mean, that gives me a systematic way every time I take it. So what I do on a track, and this is where this is where the value is. The first thing I do when I get out of the vehicle is I turn my radio on and my collar on, and I set them on the hood of my car or truck. Depends what I'm driving. And then I pull this book out. I've already had the conversation with a guy, but we're going to record now. I've already talked to him. I kind of know what they've already said. Now we're going to write it down, and I'm going to go right back through. I already got their name and a date on it. And then I start writing in the details, right? Where did you hit it at? We already know it's a buck. How far? I'll ask him again another time. How far was he? How high were you? Quartering away, quartering to. Using the compound. What broadhead we're using. I'll even write in there. He tells me what brand the broadhead was, a Muzzy or whatever. I'll write in there. Rage expandable. I'll write it in there. And it gives me a systematic way of taking the data and not forgetting to ask some questions. Some people don't ask any questions. They just go track a deer, and that's great. But I think where this comes in value is for the new person learning this trade. Don't know what to do, don't know what to ask. And I think this is where this value comes in. And then if you're a historical data person, there's another value which will be what I'll be using it for.
I see. I look at it from a different point of view, and I probably looked at it the same way when I was younger into tracking. But the more important side of this is this tells you what you need to work on.
Exactly.
But I want to go back to the graph. Okay, so
Mhm.
I
Yep.
have a copy of last year's.
Yep. Yep.
And can you pull up this year's, Matt?
Yeah, I'm. Yes.
Yep. I had them flip it around so we weren't copying anybody. We have our own layout.
Right. So I like the updated one, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how I would use it. I would mark where they think they hit it, but where I would use this is when it was actually recovered or actual trail camera picture of record the entrance and the exit.
And the exit. Yep.
I think there's more value in that than where the hunter thinks they hit it at.
Exactly.
And I'll show why. I'm going to pull something up here, Matt.
Yep. Go ahead.
And that was my thought process, is use two different markers on this, maybe a red and a blue for entrance and exit, you know what I'm saying? And you can write on there entrance and ENX, and then you got a data. Yep. So this
isn't mine. This is from Creekside Deer Recovery. I give them credit. But here's why I'm not a fan of where they think they hit it. Because if you look at these blues, it says unclear. Some of those are double lung hits. Some of them are liver shots. There's no reason for that to be unclear unless they ran out of property or whatever, So, and I haven't talked to Joe to ask him, but I would question some of that just looking at this. I mean, those should have been dead deer. Now, one thing I do like some of these whites, like in 10 and 9 right there, even 11, follow-up shot needed. That right there should be a clear indication of my wait time wasn't right.
Right. Yep.
So there's learning aspects to it. But I wanted to share that because clearly some of this is from where the hunters thought they hit it. And this got shared around a bunch, and it does put a good visual out there.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
On the blue, how do they know? What do they mean by unclear? Was a deer? I mean,
that I don't know. I need to ask Joe. I don't know.
There has to be some kind of either that they found the deer or they got a picture of the shot. Otherwise, it's just useless data, in my opinion.
Well, unclear, so it's dead, alive, or follow-up shot needed. So the unclear leads me to believe that they didn't recover it.
And so, how would they put a blue pin in there? Is my question. I'm not saying they're.
Well, I think it would
unless
come
they have
from
a camera pictures.
I think it would come from where the person said they shot it.
But we know how good that is, right?
Right. So that's what I was getting at. How I would utilize that graph is where you actually saw a wound.
Right. You can have proof of where the wound is at.
Right. Otherwise, to me, it's useless.
Yep. And that's what I think with having this chart here, we can do entrance and exit on the ones we recover. And then sometimes we have a trail camera picture, right? And we might have of a live deer. Sometimes we get the exit side or sometimes we get the entrance side. So it gives us one spot. We can go back there and record it. Unrecovered, it was, here, but we don't know where it entered at, but we know exactly where it exited at. So it kind of gives us a little bit of data.
What I don't want is someone new watching this to get too hung up on where the hunter says they hit it, because most of the time it's not accurate.
Right.
So, okay.
Yep. And so if we move down, then I would start recording a little bit more information. Distance tracked. How far do we go? And then we go, did you recover it? Yes or no? Did we jump the deer? Did we have a property stop, or did we have to dispatch the deer? So those are places.
Are you recording whether it was jumped, or are you recording at what distance was it jumped?
Well, I think that's where the notes can come into place. I mean, because you could jump it at 300 yards and we go 700, 800 yards and we got a property stop now. You know what I'm saying? So we told them we went 700 yards, but we jumped it at 300.
Record at what distance was it jumped?
Right. Yep.
Which is what I record.
Which would be usually the first or second bed.
Right.
Undisturbed.
First bed could be 800 yards, or it could be 200 yards.
Yep. exactly. Yeah, it's good. It's it's good to go back there and start putting together. So with this stuff, I'll probably create more like spreadsheets where I kind of keep more detailed stuff, and then I can put all that together, and just keep historical data that way also. But this gives me a place to keep it, and then I can do more with it at a later date.
Gotcha.
After tracking season's over, we can go back and start gathering all the information.
Yeah, there's just a lot of value in knowing
Hmm.
at what distance from the shot site.
Absolutely.
And is that,
Yeah,
are you
I like
recording jumped by you or jumped by the hunter? That's another thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's important to track as well. Did the hunter jump it? If he did, at what distance? Or she,
Yep.
And then knowing that this is stuff that I track, I'm just sharing this. And it may not be in here, but you can put it in the notes of,
Yep. There's only so much room
how
on
far
the
did they
page here.
track it before they jumped it? Then how far did you track it before you either recovered it or jumped it again?
Again, yeah. Yep.
So now that you recorded all this, let's say it was not recovered and you did not run into a property stop. What do you do then? Are you just done with that data?
No, I mean, I don't think you're ever done with the data.
No, I'm saying, are you done? Are you done recording on this page? If you jump the deer,
yes, then I'll put non-recovered, and then I'll put in the notes my thoughts. I always try to put my thoughts in our non-recovered deer. What do I think happened? Why did we not recover the deer? Did we miss something? Was it a back whack and we already know and we went anyhow? Because there's a few back whack deer that are recovered.
Oh yeah, I've recovered a bunch. Now, where I was going with that is something that a lot of people overlooks or doesn't do. And
Mm-hmm.
since and this is going to tie into why I asked you what that information for was at the top.
Mm-hmm.
More times than not, a hunter is not going to contact you back if they get a trail camera picture.
Right.
So you can go back, a few weeks later and do a follow-up call or text and say,
that's a good idea.
Hey, just checking in. Have you spotted that deer that I tracked for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I've had a few phone calls where they say, yeah, and I always tell the people, hey, if you get a camera, I think you guys will see it on camera again. Let me know. I've had them where I've tracked it left at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 7 o'clock at night, we got back on the same camera.
Yeah, but most will not let you know.
Right.
So if you utilize this sheet and you go back a few weeks later and just do a follow-up call, you'll collect more information than you will just letting it go.
That's a good idea. Yeah, didn't think about that. We get busy, we just kind of move on, but we should be going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you really want to collect the data and have a really good, accurate, you need to do that. And that's something that I didn't do for years. And actually I believe it was either Jason Bell or Ralph Bennett that started doing that. And instead of having like 10% that would actually notify you of whether they saw it or not, it goes up to 50 then.
Right.
Or more, because you're making contact back. And they'll say, oh yeah, I meant to call you.
So who the heck is that was weird.
I don't know.
Must have been me.
Okay, so let's say you get done.
Yep.
The end of season. What do you do with it?
Well, usually it's sitting on my chair where I sit in the living room and I kind of go through it and reminisce with it. I got it. Like I say, I have a spreadsheet that I start putting in information from here to there. And then I can look at, in one spot, instead of flipping page to page to page, I collect all the data that I have on here. And then I have every year since I've been tracking, I have an Excel sheet on who I track for, what did we track, what weapon did they use, what projectile was used, did we jump it, did we recover it, did we not recover it, do we have a trail camera picture of it? and that's the data.
Then what do you do with it from there? How do you analyze it? What do you do with the data? I mean, is there some?
Well, I think that as I compare them, I'm seeing my, and not that we care about percentages, but my recovery rates are getting better. I've also,
why is it getting better?
Well, for one of my biggest reasons is I'm not going as quick as I used to go. I'm not jumping as many deer as I did the first 2 years. The first 2 years,
the data identified a
my
problem
weakness
of you going too soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so I see Randy Vick's on here watching. Randy and Vic and I, we collect about the same data. And Randy and I, for many years now, we've conversed back and forth on, trends we're seeing. Even during season, Randy will call me and say, hey, we don't have to wait as long on gut shots here because of the ambient temperature. So Randy will call me and say, hey, I just went in on a gut shot at 7 hours, it's still alive. What are you seeing? Because ours does change throughout the season. We might be able, early bow season, they'll typically, 6 hours, they'll be dead or very, very weak.
Right.
And then you get later into season and it'll turn into 8, 10, 12 hours.
Right.
So, that's, we start utilizing that data for our wait times, and we will call each other and say, hey, I ran across this. Are you seeing the same thing? And so then we will adjust our wait times mid-season because of that.
That's what we do too here. Michigan has a really huge temperature swing from the middle of September till November. I mean, we're going from can be 80-degree days to freezing. So
yeah, we're the same way.
Even the next week, I mean, this week, the first week of the season might be 40s. All right. We're getting a little more time. A week later, it's 80, 75, 80 degrees, 3-4 days in a row. You're going on those things a lot sooner. We're waiting 12 hours. Now we're going to go on. I would call like Brian Dagan. He's like, dude, it's 80 degrees out. Spend 6 hours, go find that deer. If it's not dead, he probably is not going to be able to get up. And so I learned stuff like that from seasoned people. It's like, hey, that poisoning that happens, or blood poisoning that happens on a gut shot deer, as the temperature goes up, exponentially changes quicker, and the deer is going to die much faster.
Right.
Whereas
now, do you guys do that because you're afraid of meat spoilage as well?
I don't do anything based on meat spoilage. I go on when I think we have the best chance of recovering a deer. Now I have people tell me, well, my deer is going to spoil. I'm like, well, if we jump your deer, you're not going to recover it.
Well, tell them to come to Florida and watch us wait overnight, and when it's 100 degrees outside and the meat not spoiled.
and I tell them, one thing we say is, that process doesn't happen until they take their last breath. That's when the clock starts ticking. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people throw deer out there are good. My personal opinion. Here in Michigan, I know I used to live in North Carolina. I was in the Army. We'd shoot deer in pretty warm weather.
So I will say,
throw anything away.
The way I like to use this data is when you start entering it. Well, let me share what I do with this. I think this is good to have a paper copy like this in the field. But when you can enter this in electronically, and one of my favorite ways is through a either Microsoft Forms or Google Forms, and you can put every field that's on here, and then it will you click a button, it'll automatically generate a spreadsheet, and you can actually pull up. It'll also generate pie charts and cool stuff. And then you can start looking. Okay, well, for some reason, when I have my gut shot recovery rates are dropping, what is going on? And you can start looking into it and start analyzing, seeing, oh, well, I'm having an issue because I'm not waiting long enough, or one thing I don't see, whether there is distance. I like to even look at the track itself, include a picture of the track itself, so you can analyze what went on in that track, and you put all that together, and you'll start seeing gaps in your team. And that's when you hit the ground running with training in the off season. Let's say you struggle when you hit roads, or you struggle with water, or double backs, whatever. You can this data will start painting a picture of what you need to improve on.
That's good. I never thought about using your radio, your travel as part of that data.
Your Garmin handheld,
yeah. It's that'll really enlighten a lot.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as you said it, Kenny, and especially on the Garmin when you're tracking the true dog, where if you're using Onyx, it's tracking where you went, and if you're on Lead Tracker, it's going to be pretty accurate, I suppose. But Terry, like you track, and I'm tracking now, and Kenny, you track. If you're actually tracking that dog, it doesn't matter where the heck you are. Where's the dog? And that's interesting. And then we can take that, shoot that picture, Terry, like Kenny, we have to do for the series, shoot the picture of that line right off your Garmin and attach it to that. And now with the Garmin, you can just drop a flag at a mysterious point or whatever, point of loss or whatever, point you called to track. And boy, that's fun data that could really start to really paint a picture if you're disciplined enough to do it. I'm not. I would have to be very intentional and deliberate about it until it became habit. Let me put it that way. But that's really interesting, Terry. So we know what next year's the 2026 version might.
What I found, like I said, over the years, I've learned that there's data that I really don't care about anymore. I don't care where they think they hit the deer.
Right.
I'll still ask it out of habit, but I don't let that sway my decision making in any way. Now, blood color will. Blood amount won't. Blood color will.
Right.
Sure.
I'm just starting to get better at this blood color thing, because that was another struggle for me. Was it dark? Was it light? It's like it was red. I can tell you.
Here's the thing: dark and light is not good, because someone says, "Oh, I got good dark blood," and you get there and it's bright red.
Yeah, stop sign.
I want to see a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Even pictures are typically, I get horrible pictures.
Well, Matt,
Kenny's got a whole segment on that. Yeah, Kenny got a whole segment on that in his presentation where he makes you. Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty fun.
I'd like to see it. Yeah.
In some of them, I intentionally blurred the picture because that's how you receive them sometimes.
Yeah. I always try to get as clear pictures as you can get, and get as closest, clearest pictures you can get, and you'll get them in your cave. And is that an arrow?
Yeah.
So one thing I would encourage to record, and it can be done in the notes section. How far did the hunter track it? How many people tracked it? Was there any grid searching? Was another dog used? That's all stuff that can be put in the notes section. But for those of you that may be new and listening to this, that's good information to record. You can, and actually, if you go on the tracker app, there's really good information on there. And I believe
there are electronic versions of some of this, but I'm just not an electronic kind of guy.
I was saying, because he has the data on there if you want to go look at it. Let me see.
I want to show this picture. So, part of Terry, you and I have talked about this a lot. And I'm an electronic guy too. I've got a book. I'm going to try to really use it this year. But one of the cool things about the book, and let me just do this again. Is this? Oops. Now all of a sudden, you have volumes of your tracking career, which is just a cool thing. Like you said, Terry, you can go back, you can dig through your files on your in your on your phone and your electronic folders. But there's just something, at least for we older folk,
Oh, guys, yeah.
that appreciate just the look of a journal,
Yep.
a collection of encyclopedia of your tracking career.
Right.
I think that's neat.
That picture, that's part of my vision. You have a bookshelf and you have nothing but filled with tracking books, and you can just go. That's why I'm envious of these guys in their younger ages. They're starting. I'm started in my late 50s. But you can imagine 25 years of data, what it can tell you,
Be
what
fun.
kind of historical. What kind of historical value?
I know Randy and I can tell you.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you got historical data that's just incredible. I mean, you can't put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is cool. Go ahead, Ken.
Go ahead.
So this is cool for the nostalgic purposes. I really like it. When it comes down to the data analysis, you really do have to translate that into electronics.
Absolutely.
So you can slice it and dice it.
But this gives you a place to start.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just like that. I'll quit sharing now, but I just kind of like that.
Yep.
No, I think a paper copy like this is the way to go to have this in your truck, because most people's not going to take the time to input it electronically, or you don't have signals, something's going to go wrong, you're going to lose the data.
Yeah.
Having this in your tracking vehicle, that's good. And I'm going to be honest, I don't keep records like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
I think that's
common. It kind of
with
comes to a point where you collect so much and you put it all together.
Yep.
I'm not saying that I can't learn more, but it becomes repetitive. And
But how many years did it take you to get to this point?
a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
A long time. And that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
There's definitely value in it.
Absolutely.
Definitely value in it.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, Kenny, you're right, because I do the Google form. That's how I track mine. And I don't do that until I'm home at night and or the next morning, and then I go back and punch it in based on everything I remember. I might have to go back and revert, but I'm not doing it electronically in the moment, in the truck, after the track, or before the track. So now I'm gonna, Terry, I think your journal is gonna be in my tracking wagon now, and I may change my approach to see how that works for me, because now I do have something I can go back and reference and transfer every single bit of that. Exactly what you said, Kenny.
We're losing
every
you a
single
little bit.
bit of the document. No, it's you, buddy.
Okay,
it's you. But every single thing. Are we breaking up?
I seen a circle on your screen there, so I didn't know.
Maybe it is me. Terry, am I breaking up for you too?
A little bit. You're not now.
Okay. I've told my kid to get off the internet and leave me some Wi-Fi. But anyway, every single thing that is captured in here can be done in a Google or a Microsoft form by click. Tap. Now you're going to have to punch a license number in and stuff like that. So now you got the best of both worlds. So you've got the hard copy, you get the volumes, throughout, to chronicle your tracking career, which I think is cool. And now you got the electronic version for the true data analysis, the slicing and dicing of the data to turn it into something useful. Or, no, I don't want to turn it into something useful, but to make it easier to analyze and find some of those gaps or those tendencies or whatever, like what Kenny was talking about. Damn, every time we don't find a deer, it seems like there's a road crossing, or, I don't know, I'm making that up. But, every time I haven't found a deer over, 892 yards. Why is that, But whatever that might be.
You're not going far enough.
Yeah, right. But yeah, good stuff, man.
Or you'll start seeing trends. Like, here's one for you. I can tell you, if we now I'm tracking off lead here.
Mm-hmm.
if we jump the deer and the dogs don't stop and bay it for a few minutes within 750 yards,
Yep.
there is less than 5% chance of us ever stopping that.
Okay, 750 yards from the time they jump it, or
Yes.
750 yards from the total time you tracked it?
No, from when we jump it.
Okay.
Now that's factoring in wait time, proper wait times and all that. But what I have found through the data is if they don't bay it and hold it for a couple of minutes within that 750 yards, we have less than a 5% chance of actually recovering that deer.
Yeah. And that's data that can be applied in decision making on a track.
Right. So what I do now is if we jump it and they make it 750 yards and it doesn't up, I'm pulling my dogs off and we'll make a decision based on all the other signs.
Yep.
Whether we just chalk it up as the deer is going to live, or do we make plans to come back?
Give it more time.
Right. And there's other factors in there too, of course, property size and all that. But
we
not track. If I didn't track it, I wouldn't know that 750 mark.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then, I've talked about this before. I've called you and we've talked about this because, River being on off lead now, I've had some pretty long off lead tracks where we've caught up to the deer. And I've also had some my problem here, unless we're on a big farm, everybody owns 10 acres here. And you can get across 10 acres in no time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 4 bounds. Yeah.
So you got to wait longer than.
So we have to extend our wait times. I don't, we try to keep the deer on the property if we can.
One of the things, we were talking about earlier in the wait time decisions, we were talking mostly about how weather can impact it. Well, how about the rut? October 2nd deer shot in the liver, you can feel reasonably comfortable going at 8 hours, even if it is, 45 degrees. A liver shot deer on November 2nd, you better be waiting probably closer to 18 hours. Here in Michigan anyway,
right.
when it's 45 degrees. And that was one of the chats last year, Terry, if you remember in our network, is people started saying, "Hey man, it's time to push liver shots back." I just jumped one at 16 hours,
Yep.
So
I had one last year at 18 hours. He shot it with a Grim Reaper, which is a 3-blade expandable with a compound. And I think that deer, its first bed, it was a couple hundred yards, 250, 300 yards. And I told the guy, I'm like, look, he had to go out of town the next morning. He's like, we got to get it tonight, or I'm going to Ohio to hunt. And I says, if you hear my dog bark, you better be on my heels because she's got your dog. And we got to get on it quick. And when I say shoot it. Don't wait. You don't have time to range find it. Just put another arrow in that deer. And we get up there and I pulled River back and he shot it right in the chest. It took off and she stopped it another 40 yards. But it was 18 hours liver shot. And it was a straight up 3-blade liver punch. And that deer was still alive.
Yep.
Took 3 hours.
I tracked a double one this year that was alive at 9 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You chronicled that out of the screen.
Where in the lungs was it hit? Was it higher in the lungs?
It was frontal lung. It clipped both lungs and nicked the heart.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Explain that one.
Yeah, I can't. So here's another thing I want to talk about with this.
Yep.
That some of you may not have thought about. You get that impatient person that wants you to come there earlier than what you need to do. So you're buying some time as much as you can. You finally show up. You still need, say, another hour, maybe another hour or two. Drag this out.
Yeah.
Drag it out.
Use this as your friend. You don't start talking about, well, hey, let me show you this. I'm gonna show you some other recovery. Start talking about stories. Take your time filling all this stuff out, going back over it. then you can use it. Say, okay, well, all right, I got all this information. Let's go look at the shot site. Oh, let me go add something to my notes real quick before, and you can drag it out, and you can buy yourself.
Use it as a stall mechanism.
Wait, my radio won't connect to my collar. Hold on. Got to restart this whole thing.
There's another one. Yeah.
Well, I do that all the time. But this right here is you fill it all. Oh, I forgot to turn my collar on. Now we got to wait another 20 minutes for it to sync up.
Meanwhile, the guy's stroking out.
No, because once you're there, they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's grab some comments.
All righty.
We'll just throw Terry Crystal Mueller. Hi, Terry. Saw you share the podcast. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Well, Crystal, you're hearing what Terry has to say. I want to put that up there, Terry. You gotta someone giving you a shout out. Oh, so, and this.
Can I say one thing?
Not until I say this, because this comment's really important. Again, too early for the bloodhound hate, Mullins. go ahead, Terry, and I'll go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so if you want one of these books, you can get on Amazon, right? You got to just search Wounded Game Tracking Journal. There's two versions. There's a 50-page version and there's a 100-page version. All right, so make sure you know what you're buying if you're going to purchase it.
Yeah, so that was a question from Ryan Davis there.
I have them at home. I can ship them to you if you'd rather do that. Just send me a PM and we can get that ball going. I got a bunch of them at home, or you can get them on Amazon.
Yeah, so are the tracking logs available on the ABTA or the UBT website, or is it something you make yourself, still new to the group? So yeah, it's not available on neither the UBT nor the ABTA. It is available on Amazon, or you can contact Terry directly through Facebook. Shoot him a PM. Terry Foles, Tracker Boyer, right, Terry?
Yep. And if you search it on Amazon, it's hard because until the algorithm gets set, it's hard to find it. So you want to go in there and you want to punch in Wounded Game Tracking Journal and then punch my name in, Terry Foltz. And then it will pop up. But you got to look because there's two of them. So make sure you read this description. One's cost $20, one costs $17. You can figure that out. Which one's cheaper, right?
Yeah. Let's show what Dave says, because I thought this was interesting. Friend, when I got the season book, I was excited to see that each track has a separate picture of where did you hit it. I'm hoping to have the hunter mark where they think they hit the deer and compare on recoveries, maybe carry a tape measure to come up with an average of how far off the hunters are at the end of the season. So there's another data point, or another way to come up with an average. On average, the hunters are within 12 inches or whatever.
I like the ones that say they hit it right behind the shoulder and it was right in front of the ham.
Yep. Wrong shoulder.
Wrong shoulder. Yep. Blade sharpness doesn't get enough attention like it used to, Randy Vick says. And you're right, Absolutely. Randy. It's sharpness matters. So my buddy Alan, I've been using this book and write my thoughts on what I believe helped find the deer, or what I believe why we didn't find it. Just info for me to take in. And Alan, and I'm going to get with Alan this weekend. Alan, thanks for listening. We're gonna work on some stuff, and Kenny, I may have to get some consultation with you. I'm going to have Alan wear some. Alan, I didn't tell you this when we spoke earlier today, but you're going to wear a camera this weekend, so we can ask Kenny for some help on. Lucy's 2-year-old smooth coat is working through some things, and we're trying to get him ready for a test in Illinois, and Lucy struggled a little bit, and we're trying hard to get it to get our arms around it. We might need some professional input there. Larry Beckham, I like this. As someone new to the checklist, would encourage me to slow down and make good decisions. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so Matt, the video I showed you last night, which I will be sharing later on.
Yeah.
Everyone will get to see it. But that was Larry. With
Oh,
his
was it
blood.
Larry? Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Well, Larry, your video is and I know Kenny talked about it, but it was fun for us to watch. We watched all three segments of it in just some fantastic opportunities to use as teaching opportunities. And you got a good dog there, buddy. that was truly fun to watch. All right.
He said he
Which
played
one?
the trick on me, but it worked.
He played. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll need to get Larry on here sometime and talk about this. But
Oh, I'd love to.
just to give a little background so we don't leave people hanging. We had a training day yesterday, and Larry came out and he told me up front, we worked with his dog, so we knew what his dog was capable of. And Larry reached out and he was having some frustrations, and it was
Okay.
yeah. So
I think it was the first guy, but yeah.
so anyways, he came out and he told me what was going on, and I told him in the message, in the text, I said, hey, I'm not trying to sound rude, but it's a handler issue. And so I think what I did is I tried to set up a scenario where he would push his dog past the where the trail deviated, and put out some sign that would make him want to progress forward. And we kind of had a little mishap, and you'll have to wait and see the video, but it actually worked out. Even though we had a little mishap, it worked out great, because what Larry's issue was confidence in his dog. And what we did, and he can chime in, but I think it definitely boosted his confidence. He did push the dog, or the dog ended up going past where it deviated, went all the way to the end, hit a brick wall. And I told Larry, I said, hey, just follow him. If he's wrong, he's wrong. Just follow him. The dog hit the brick wall, reset himself on the trail, reacquired the line, went the right direction, nose to the ground, and went right to the end. And part of the video, I said, what would you have done, had we not been here? And he's like, I would have pushed the dogs. I thought he should have turned back there.
Yeah. Well, and that was the word I used last night when we were talking about it. That was a serendipitous mistake, because it offered some great learning opportunities and some great just, I don't even know if it's learning, but the just awareness of just scent and how incredible a dog's nose really is. And I don't want to give it away, but I was like, holy crap, I can't believe that. And when we see the video, and we will, Larry, you got to come on and we can play the video then, Kenny. But it's impressive. And I think snipping out that section is a great seminar topic, a brief segment in a seminar, because it's just, it really shed some light on some things, I thought.
Oh yeah, and not just that, but you see two guys that have literally laid thousands of trails in different scenarios screw up big time. But it worked out. It actually worked out in a pretty good way.
Yeah, it sure did. Yep. Yeah, and he says here, it gave me huge confidence boost. Well, that's good. Well, and the confidence starts in the fact that you got a bloodhound, Larry. I mean, so it was able to overcome Kenny's training. I'm just kidding, Kenny. In all seriousness, your training is very good. And
Hey, I tell you what, though, after he handled one of our tackles yesterday, he's wanting one.
I've never handled a tackle, but I've
not
been
yesterday, Sunday. Sorry. Sunday.
Yeah, I've been behind folks that have tackles, and it's it's different for me. Again, I'm used to a bloodhound. I'll be honest, man. I'm not getting another bloodhound. What are you talking about, Larry? All right, bro. Come on, man. God, he busted Kenny's chops, and now you just freaking let him off the hook. That's funny. But
he got to see that tackle work.
Got to see. Yeah, go ahead, Larry. You can put that tackle in your fanny pack as you're walking to the hit site. I'm teasing tackle people, totally teasing. They are the most tenacious little runts I have ever seen. And that's a compliment. In all seriousness, they're tenacious and driven. Holy crap! Brian Kendall, first time listener, first time caller. Thanks, guys. First time listening, very useful. Brian's in our network, and glad you tuned in, Brian. Glad you're enjoying it. Thank you. Easy on the little dogs, Calvin says. Oh, so Calvin's tracking with a Parsons Russell Terrier.
Yeah, little terrier, right?
Little terrier, yeah.
I follow behind that dog. That terrier is about 10 foot tall.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah.
So I gotta put no, not that one. Here we go. I'm gonna share this. Oh, is it gonna come up? It's coming.
Okay.
Oh, there was an issue with your file. What in the world? Let me try it again. Oh, of course, it's not going to open back up. I'm going to search for it again, but it's just perfect to share at the moment. All right, we're close. Why is this not working? All right, I'll try another one. Yeah, if you want to hit another comment, and I'll get this.
Okay, yeah. Perry just jumped in. Having a hard time reading Zoe. I need to have you lay a track for me and see she doesn't change up between tracking and searching. Searching a track. So
yes, I got to call Perry back. We will make that happen, Perry.
And you know what? That kind of ties into some of the things my buddy Alan's working on. What is Zoe's a lab, right?
No.
No, what is it?
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
Okay. So I had the same comment quite a bit when I was first tracking with River. I couldn't read her. Other people could read her. So until I started following other seasoned trackers and watching them, then I finally the light bulb clicked on. There's signs. Your dog's giving you signs. You just don't know what to look for yet. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah. He knows that. That's why he's wanting to
get together. Help. Yeah. Long background. Okay.
I do not know why this will not. Crazy. I'm gonna send it to you, Matt. Anyways, with you and
okay.
Yeah, it's a long-haired Dotson. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, he chimed in. Yep. Randy Davis says that I've got to stick with the bloodhounds, and this is coming from a guy that has bloodhounds and asked Kenny and Brandy Mullins for one of the little dogs. We'll see. I always go back and forth. I love my bloodhound. I love her to death. I love the way they track. It's just because I'm accustomed to it. We'll see what the next one is. Might be a red bone, Daryl Margaret.
Hey, I've worked behind some, or not worked behind, but I've tested some very, very good red bones.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Daryl's dog. I'm sure you'll see her in Michigan, Kenny. Um, and of course she's 8 years old, but oh, she
She's
is.
phenomenal.
It's just beautiful, just outstanding. Yeah, you send that to me.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm searching.
That's okay. Different chime in.
Yeah, it's here we go. I'm sending it right now. Actually, I may just do it like this. This might work. If not, I will send it to you.
Okay.
All right, where'd it go? There it is.
John Belton says, "I love my bloodhound when he isn't trying to kill me." What's he doing, John?
Polling.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I pick on a fanny pack dog, but I gotta tell you, there are some things that that ain't all bad. If you
Yeah,
had to clean it out, that's great.
yeah. I had
Yeah.
to share it when you mentioned that.
Yeah. I pick on my buddy Dave Medor, who commented here. We did a podcast on my little podcast, and I don't remember what it was all about, but he talked about his truck. I go, "Oh yeah, you roll in your big, huge lifted diesel dual stack freaking giant tire freaking truck and jump out with your little hairy sausage dog in your fanny pack."
Hey, I will say this. I was speaking with someone earlier, and they were talking about, bay dogs and all that. I said, so let me tell you something. Don't discredit those little dogs because I have had them stop deer that my cur dog couldn't because the deer didn't fear it. It
Right.
just stood there and looked at it like, what the heck is this? What's this thing going to do to me?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I joke about the fanny pack dog, but it truly is a joke because I we all like the breeds that we like, but I don't consider my self a breed snob by any means. Geez, I'll bet Beck wants me to get a lab. I don't know, maybe.
You seen a good one work last night?
Sure did.
Yeah. So
Who was the first time ever following a line? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's another one we'll get into.
Yeah.
On another segment. But Terry, did you have any questions?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It doesn't have to be data related, Terry. I know.
Well, let's talk about liver shots.
Okay.
Now, this is something I've had conversations with people. Why are they sometimes tough to track? I have some guys say my dog struggles with liver shots. Are they misreading the shot, or is there something to it?
I would believe they're likely misreading it. I mean, so are they saying? Did they confirm that it's liver?
I don't know. They just say they struggle with liver shots. They struggle tracking liver shot deer.
Yeah, I would have to question as to whether they confirm that
correct
it's
read.
actually liver.
Okay. Because I would think that would be next to a gut shot. That'd be the second easiest to track, if not better than a gut shot. I don't know.
All right. So while we're on it, I'm just going to go ahead and find a way to screen share here, and we'll play the little game.
Okay. Yeah.
Hang on just a second. Let me get it in. Play from start. Oh, I'll have to do that after I screen share. Give me just a second. You kidding me? All right. right, it's making me put in a password so that I can screen share for whatever reason.
Okay. Michael Pitts says that's the stubbornness in the bloodhound, but you know what? They can be stubborn, but that's also what makes them great trackers, man. Especially when they get it figured out and they know they like the line. Uh-oh. We lost Kenny. Who killed Kenny? Michael Pitts also says, love my bloodhound, but just got a cur pup. He has had moments where he will be super impressive, and next, like you, and next is like you find the deer. Yeah. Yeah, Dave. It's a lot of fun pulling Winston out of the truck and seeing the hunter's reaction. Back, buddy.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's been a technically lumpy night. You get that with those big jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to figure out why in the world it is not letting me. Let's see here. Why is it not letting me screen share that? Should just let me screen share, right? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Oh, there it is. Ah, here we go.
There it is.
All right. So we'll run through these since you mentioned them.
Okay. Here you go, Terry. Yeah, I've already played this game, so I'll let you play, Terry.
I'm horrible, bud.
But it's fun.
You got anything there?
So what are you asking the question? What is that?
Yeah.
I wish I could. If I could touch it, I could tell you a little bit better.
Well, you can't touch it when the hunter sends it.
It's not a great picture, but it looks like muscle thick. It looks thick to me. But typically, I would see muscle blood as being a lot more brighter, but the picture is kind of deceiving. I mean, okay. I guess you could say liver, but it's the thickness tells me it's muscle.
Interesting. We'll come back to it.
Pink. Probably wrong every single one of them. Yeah.
Lot of white, unpleasant looking things in there. I don't know.
You got anything, Terry?
First thing would say it's pink, so it'd be aerated, but I'm probably wrong. From a long shot.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see
the white hair.
Can you see my cursor?
No.
Yeah.
I see something.
Okay, so you see your white hair here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So obviously that's likely going to be the belly, correct?
Belly. Yep.
Yeah, long, sort of wispy.
Yep. Straight. Yep.
Okay, what about this?
Chunks of intestinal or gut.
Well, look at the color.
I can't. It's
okay. So you got some pink. You got some dark.
It looks like a
maroon.
Yep.
You got some white hair. You see like some little specks. So that was single lung, liver, gut.
The trifecta.
Yeah. Just I was going to say the trifecta.
That one was liver, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about this one?
You missed. I can't see anything. It's grass.
Yeah.
This is how it was sent to me, literally.
Yeah. I think again, I know the answer because you showed this one in Lancaster, but
is that gut material or whatever the second rumen or the green in there? I can't tell.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Muscle.
Well, that was pretty much back at the same without the white hair.
Oh, really?
All right, here you go.
Yeah, gut shot. broken bone, leg shot.
Yep. Let's see.
Dark,
Do you
watery.
remember this one, Matt?
I'm trying
Is
to remember.
that a wound bed with a liver shot?
It's watery.
Watery. What I
Yeah.
You do have some dark maroon in there,
Mm-hmm.
or is
Yeah.
it?
Or that's what I can't tell. Is that dark maroon or is that just a darker leaf?
All right, we'll move on.
Shaving a haircut, 2 bits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was going to take a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What about here?
Pretty gutty.
Gutty and liver.
Mm-hmm.
Here you
Yeah.
go. What do you have
See
on
that?
this one?
That
See, I got
blood looks powder coated to me.
2 different colored blood, if I can tell right.
Yeah, I think it's two different states of dryness, wet and dry. The dry looks like a dull powder coat, but that could be because it was absorbed into the leaf. There's a lot of it in the context of visual blood.
So it's bright red. If it's wet, but then you got dark stuff.
There you go.
That's him, leg. No right rear leg. Go back to that picture, Kenny. No, the blood picture.
Oh, okay.
Right there. Okay. Well, that explains why all of the blood then.
Yeah.
So much of it, yeah.
So again, this is all stuff that now this one I can't take credit for. Actually, Lindsay Kiefer, I believe, shared this one with me. This is all stuff that we collecting the data and being able to go back and reference where it was hit, the wait times, all that. There's value in it. What about this one?
I would say it's aerated muscle blood.
There's the deer.
Mm-hmm.
3 days later.
3 days later, high shoulder, yeah. How many days going back to that rear leg shot, Kenny? Do you know how many days after that shot that picture was taken?
I do not.
Or how long? Let me put it that
I will
way.
find out.
The only reason I ask is how is that femoral not hit? How not damaged?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless that was taken right after the shot or something, and it just hadn't butt out yet. But
so, do you remember where this one was from, Matt?
some version of gut, I think, because I think that greeny stuff is some version of gut matter.
It was actually neck. It was actually neck shot.
What? Oh, and it cut its esophagus then.
Yep.
So food come out of the esophagus? Wow.
Yep.
How would you know that by looking at that without a confirmation?
Well, because we collected this picture. The picture was sent to us, and then we did recover the deer.
Okay.
You did.
Otherwise, what would you say?
What's that?
If you just got that picture, no other information, what are you going to say?
Honestly, I would say
stomach content, obviously.
Well, I wouldn't be as quick to say stomach anymore because that looks more. I know this is a terrible picture, but that's the way it came in. But it looks similar to chewed up hay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could go a couple of different ways,
So before it's digested.
Yep. And this is a segment that we go over at some of the seminars, so you guys can get a little sneak preview. We talk about what would you do, things to remember, never make excuses. It makes you look less experienced. Be confident. You should know your dog's ability well enough to be confident and to paint the picture of what is going on or what is going to happen before you turn the dog out. Again, be confident. Always reset after a jump unless you see sign of injury along the progressed trail. Don't be afraid to call for backup. You can't find every deer. You will have someone find a deer behind you. Be confident again. So that's, like I said, that's stuff that we go over in seminars, and if we don't collect the data, you'll never know this stuff.
Mhm.
For those of you that's listening to the audio version, when we put this on podcast form, I know you may not be able to see it. Actually, Matt, you could send me the video file, and I can share this as a video on the podcast as well.
Okay,
but if not, you can go to American Blood Trackers Association on Facebook or YouTube, and you can go through and look at the pictures that we're sharing here.
Yep. I'm glad you said American Blood Trackers Association, because I forgot. I wanted to pull something up, and while I'm pulling stuff up, Kenny, there's a couple new comments. I don't know if you want to scroll through and grab some of those. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back before you do. So we just went through all of those pictures, and it's fun, and everybody's a little bit intimidated to include me in a comment because you don't want to be wrong.
Right.
And I'm with Terry. I can't read blood worth of crap. I'm getting a little better, but the more experienced I get in tracking, the less I worry about it. I mean, I want to know about it. We'll see. I don't know. It's gut matter. Let's go see what the dog tells us. That I'm becoming more and more that approach. But making decisions of a hit based solely on a picture, in essence, never happens, because the picture is just one piece. You have all of the other pieces of the hunter's account. Even though we know that they are largely inaccurate in where they think they hit the deer, particularly with firearm, they have no clue where they hit the deer unless they see a blood spot, and then it could be where the was running. But there is an angle, there is a distance, there is a height, so there's compound angles, so all of that factors in. So like that first one with the hair in the trifecta, as Terry called it, we probably would have made that assessment based on the color of blood, looking at it, but also the other pieces of the puzzle, the hunter's account. Although we have to be cautious with it, it is a factor as we start to try to assemble a picture of what happened there. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, looking at pictures with no other information. Now, in all fairness, in full disclosure, in Lancaster, so we could ask you any questions we wanted, because you knew the answers to all of those, fact finding questions.
Right.
But
and that's how we do it.
Took a while, but
and that's how we did it in the seminar format. People were asking questions. Hey, what reaction? And Matt, I know you want to show something, but while we're on statistics, I have something to share. And
go ahead.
You've
I
seen
haven't
this.
pulled up yet.
Let me do screen share again.
Yeah. I think I know what you're going to show. Well, go ahead.
All right. So here, this is a sneak peek at what we go through on seminars. We talk about shot placement. Why is it key? How are deer so tough? Well, look at this. This is all from data that I've collected. Double lung, 100% recovery rate, heart 100% recovery rate. And it even talks about low margin error, liver 98%, but requires longer wait times. And it typically always, or I shouldn't say always, it typically is going to hit lung, gut because it's so small, and that could change the wait time. Gut 95% recovery rate with a dog if given proper wait times, and it's not pushed off property. Obviously, that's where that 5% comes in. And people confuse gut and intestinal all the time. Next shot 60% as a hunter, less than 10% if you need to call in a dog. So again, here's some more data that I've collected when I asked about the distance. Right here, is what I have for averages after the shot. And again, like guts, 231 yards, if not pushed. So you can record all this stuff and really, I mean, here's some wait times. And I put in there ambient temperature and all that. Lowest recovery odds, high shoulder, above the spine risk, head, neck, above the spine again, intestinal, brisket, leg. This is all, here's all this data right here, broadside, quarter towards, quarter away, frontal, and then, going talking about apps and, this is all, all stuff that we share at seminars, blood loss in ounces to be fatal, and that versus ounces of blood in a healthy deer.
Yeah, that's a good one for hunters.
Oh yeah, archery statistics. And this is the stuff off of the tracker app. A lot of good stuff here. Average yards. So, if you haven't been to a seminar, this is the kind of where we take this data that I've collected over the years and some that we've gotten, from Shane or other people and put it all together.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue, Kenny, into what I wanted to bring up. I meant to touch on it at the top of the show and forgot, but let's just get out there the forthcoming events. So we've got Alabama coming May 3rd. Registration still open, right, Kenny?
Yes.
Best you know. Yep, registration still for Alabama. We have the Pennsylvania Trekking Seminar. Michael Beck's the state liaison for that, and probably listening here. That is May 31st, that weekend. That's a full-blown testing event. We have the Michigan Seminar, which is just a one-day Michigan debut.
It's going to be a cram full of information, hands-on one-day event. I don't even know how we're going to get it all in one day. Matt and I talked about that beforehand.
Yeah,
long day.
Yeah, but it's not death by PowerPoint. It is true. There'll be some of it because there's a place for it, but it's gonna be interactive, live, hands-on stuff, Terry. So I'll look forward to you and River coming to that. But and then Iowa, it's worth mentioning. Iowa got rescheduled to September, right?
Yes.
Yep. So this is the website. You can go on AmericanBloodTrackers.org and register for any of those events, except you can register for Iowa. It's September 13th. Yes, I'm sorry, it is right there. It was originally supposed to be I think next week, but it got rescheduled out to September. So all events registration is open.
Matt, I will be changing in the near future. We'll be changing how this will be booked on the website. It'll still be under events, and there'll still be a tab to book. But it will be a little different because one thing we're looking at is, possibly some future promo codes, doing some discount giveaways and different things is coming. So it's going to change how it's booked, but you'll still go to the same tab. You'll still click on the same button. You just may see some little differences.
Yeah, it may present differently, but it's still intuitive enough to click here to book whatever. So yeah, there it is, guys. Get it on you. Pencil that stuff in. And Kenny, Alabama, Pennsylvania, and Iowa, those are intended to be full-blown testing events, right?
Correct.
Michigan is not this year. We're still doing some.
There will be some limited testing opportunities.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say,
as soon as we nail down who is attending as far as judges, that will dictate how many tests we can administer. Yeah,
but it's not a full-scale event. I try to manage that expectation, and I say limited testing will be available. So we'll.
The core focus is on the educational side of things,
and it's going to be a lot of hands-on and interactive stuff. So, and that's going to hopefully set up for some I would love to be able to pull off a full-blown testing event and seminar next year, but we'll see. Let's see how the debut goes and see how it's received in Michigan. I think it's going to be well received. And then in these other states, we know it's going to be as well. So Perry asks, is Georgia going to happen, Kenny?
I'm going to try to get an answer in the next week or so. It's that property was really devastated by the hurricane. I did have someone go fishing with me last week who was contacted about going out there and doing the cleanup. So it's looking good. So I'll let everyone know hopefully within the next week.
Yep. Cool. Well, guys, I think I kind of think we're there.
There's
a couple comments, Kenny.
Yeah, there's a couple that I think we need to touch on.
Let's do it. Which ones? I'll pull them up.
Let's see. Right off the bat, Ryan Davis. I think it's worth mentioning. When I can't tell much from the picture, I push the wait time and see what I can see in person. If still not able to determine, I let the dog do its job based on the info I can put together from what I have gathered. I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Don't be afraid to share those pictures around because you might miss something. So the one I put up there with the white hair and the pink and the liver specks and a little bit of gut matter, out of all the seminars that I've shared that at, one person has gotten that one right.
It's a tough one. That's a tough picture.
Yep. Dave, great conversation. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate the comment and support for sure.
Dylan. Yes.
Oh my goodness, Dylan. Let's pull it up. I'll let you read it, Kenny. You read more fluently than I do. I can read.
We had 2 last year that were confirmed 4 to 8 inch penetration, liver blood on arrow, more than likely hit gut of some sort too. But we had to circle the areas that made sense and rely on air scenting for recovery. Terry backed us up on what we both think was a rear intestine shot, and he really cleared my head on that track. If you new trackers do not have a few mentors, you are missing out. I can call Matt and Terry anytime. I'm a little confused there. Liver blood on arrow, 4 to 8 inches of penetration.
Yeah, I think that was reference to Terry's question about struggle on liver shot deer, and Dylan has told me this story before about having
right, but I'm a little confused.
Two different deer, Kenny. The liver shot deer, and then the suspected rear intestinal. But Terry, you were there. Do you have any?
So the one I backed him up on was what we believe to be a rear intestinal, and we did not advance it very far. It was really bad conditions, really heavy rain, wind was blowing like crazy. We just couldn't put anything together for one reason or another.
What makes you think it was rear intestinal?
Based off what, basically I think Dylan shared with me and Hunter shared with me. I don't even know if I even seen an arrow on that one. Did I, Dylan?
Do you remember what was shared?
No.
Gotcha.
I know we didn't advance it very far. 2 dogs and didn't go hardly anywhere.
I'm really curious on the 4 to 8 inch penetration with liver blood. I'd like to have more details on that.
Yeah. Well, let's see if you. Yep. Okay. Barry wants to finish testing Alabama for Jet.
Awesome. You can do it. I know Jet can do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oops. Oh, Dylan's calling me. Hey, Kenny, help Ryan on how he can get registered with his.
Yeah, if you have any trouble, Ryan, just reach out. We'll get you taken care of.
Dude, what's up?
I'm just looking back to see if we missed any see if we missed any comments or questions or anything.
I guess, could I say something real quick here while you're looking?
Yeah.
So if anybody's having a seminar, I know I've given you some books, Kenny, to give out, but if anybody's having a seminar, just contact me and I'll send you a free book that you guys can use to auction off, give away. I don't really, whatever you want with it. But
Yeah,
I'll definitely, anybody has seminars, I'll definitely donate books to them.
Yeah, so I probably will not be at the Alabama event, but I will be getting one there.
Okay.
And then I will be at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Iowa. So I'll take some with me there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dylan was calling to clarify that liver blood. He says he said it was high certainty of liver blood. Just it was the dry, flaky stuff on the arrow, and he believed there was some gut too, based on the hunter's account and the blood characteristics.
So I will say this: oftentimes, especially dried blood will dry darker.
Yep.
And I have seen the reason I question that is I have seen a lot of people misread dry blood for liver. And I'm not saying that's the case here, but I've seen it a lot. I get a lot of pictures sent to me throughout the season.
So I've had people comment to me about the dried blood and the new arrow coatings that they're putting on these arrows that will flake off where it typically would stick before. You ever hear anything about that or see that?
Yeah, well, I've definitely seen it, especially around the fletchings with some of the, I guess I've always assumed it was some of the glue.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be some type of coating over the carbon. Yeah, and that's another, Calvin made a good point. Why only 4 to 8 inches of penetration? So that's what really throws it off, and that's what really makes me think that it likely was not liver. Again, not saying it wasn't, but I would, if I was to bet on it, I would not bet liver.
Yeah, and other factors we don't know is how far was the deer? Were they shooting mechanical? Because I will tell you, if you're shooting a crossbow at 50 yards with a mechanical broadhead, it wouldn't surprise me one little bit that he only got 8 inches of penetration at that distance with a crossbow with a mechanical blade.
Yeah. A lot. Well, like I said, but the big thing is, so, he made a good point about having mentors, and,
Yes.
this is something I received a message today from a person, not to say names, but it seems a lot of trackers are struggling with, how do I find someone to mentor? You can reach out to us at any point, no matter where you are, and we will put you in contact with the right people that can help you. We all, the tracking community is big, but it's small at the same time.
Right.
So if you don't know where to turn, just reach out to us. And we have a contact in pretty much, I can tell you a contact in every state where there's tracking presence. So we will definitely get you in the right place to find a mentor.
Yeah. And based on you talk about data and statistics, Kenny. You've showed it here before, and you showed it at your seminars. The tracker's trajectory with and without a mentor, with an ego, without an ego. Mentors matter. They absolutely shortened my curve, and Terry helped me a little bit. Terry's the one that pushed me off the edge this middle of last season to get my Garmin. Just get it. You'll be better. You'll be more comfortable. I said, you're right. And I ordered it that night and love it. Hated it at first. Love it now. God, I love that thing.
So speaking of that, and I know we're kind of winding things up, but I want to throw out there that we will be having a whole, either it may be an audio podcast, maybe a live stream, but a whole session on off-lead tracking. Matt and I, we were both contacted today by different people, and one of them was someone from an on-lead state, but wanted more information. So we will be doing something on that, on how to train for it, how to transition, different techniques, tactics, whatever you want to call it. So that is coming.
Yep. Yeah, and that would be a good one because Oh yeah, Dylan sent me the pictures now. Yeah, that'll be good because I know uh, John Melton asked about it at one point. I had an inquiry today. You had an inquiry today. Yeah, there's more and more people interested in it. And
Well, John Melton, if you're watching, your dog will track off lead.
John is he chimed in earlier. Yeah, yep. Okay. Wow, the comments are starting to fly in again. Let's just put Randy's up here. I can say for a fact that you can find help. What's that?
You mean Ryan?
What did I say?
Randy.
No, it's Ryan. It says right there, Kenny.
Yeah, you said Randy.
I know. I can say for a fact that you can help. You can find help with questions with tracks. I have probably drove Mike Aguilar and Kenny Mullins crazy with my questions. Yep.
Yeah, you never drive me crazy.
Yeah, the funny thing is, trackers love that stuff. We don't. I think most of us don't get driven crazy with questions. We love talking about it. You know.
Look at Larry's.
Oh yeah, hey, Larry, take off the leash. Are you sure, Kenny? That goes back to that test. It was the video. That was funny. And yes, Larry, we could see the mild anxiety. It did come through, but it was awesome. Your dog did great.
You know what? We don't have time to play the whole thing, but people's going to question now. So let me see if I can. We can just play a short.
Okay, we'll play a segment of it.
Because again, I told him to take the lead off so he could see that his dog has it. And he was worried that he was not going to go home.
Yeah, that's what he said right here. I was sure I was going home without a dog.
Yeah. So, where is it? Right here. Let's see if it'll. I'm probably gonna have to do a screen share. Let me just do it. It's gonna be easier.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up. Then again, I won't play the whole thing. It would be too long.
It'd be too long, and that. But yeah, we really got to save that for a purpose. Whether it's
we will for sure.
There's really good stuff there, and just great teaching moments.
Come on.
Perry, yep, it's different on lead, off lead. Perry, I used the word a million times. It's liberating to go off lead, isn't it, Terry?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Liberating is the word I use. But just because it's liberating doesn't mean you should do it if you're not ready. If your dog's not ready, don't do it. You know, and that's when Michigan first went to it in 2023 was the first year that off lead was legal. I didn't do it. The dog wasn't ready.
Trying to get to a certain point where I can just play a short clip. It's buffering, but yeah, here we go. All right, let me find screen share. Just so you guys can see, this was his first experience of watching his dog work off lead.
I'm just going to go ahead and maximize it. So,
yeah.
Look at that beautiful specimen. I'm not being facetious. That is just a beautiful dog. I love that color combo. Liver and tan, liver and red.
So he had no idea that his dog would even track off lead. And the reason I did it was because he was lacking confidence. I wanted to see, hey, it's you. Just relax. Your dog's got it. You know, trust your dog. You can see that dog's got it.
Yep. And further, you know, and just to be clear, you did not put the dog in jeopardy because you trained this dog. No. You knew this dog could do this. So it's not like you just arbitrarily said, hey, drop that lead, man. Let's hope he sticks around. You knew he would.
Yeah, look at that dog right there.
Yep. That's what I call track and swagger. Yep.
So, yeah, that way, I just wanted to put it up there so people could see.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and yeah, that was the back half of that serendipitous encounter on the front end, which is fun. Bob Quinn, are you going to the one in August in Michigan? I might up in Grayling. I've just got to see. If I do, it's just going to be a day trip. I might cruise up there for just to hang out and meet mouse some of my buddies that are going, but I'm not sure, Bob. My question to you is: are you coming to the one in June, Bob?
There you go. Throw it back at him.
Yeah, and I shared it with him the other day. He's going to try to come. So.
All right. Well, I didn't mean to drag it out sharing that, but Larry brought it up.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we are there. We're at 2:05. Good conversation. Data matters. So if you're interested in Terry's tracking journal, it's available on Amazon. Search tracking journal. The more it's searched, the more the algorithm will pull it up quicker. But if you have trouble finding it or want to buy it directly from Terry, contact him via Facebook Messenger. Terry Foltz.
Can you spell Foltz for those that do not know?
Folts.
Folts. Tracker Boyer, right? Or is it Boyer Tracker?
Something, I don't know. One or the other.
Yeah, because Terry also makes traditional bows. But yeah, you can get it there. Events. Remember, we have Alabama coming up on weekend of May 3rd. Pennsylvania coming up weekend of May 31. Michigan coming up June 28th. And Iowa coming up September 13th. They're all available for registration on the website now. So get registered, please. If you know you're going to go, register, so it makes planning easier instead of doing it 2 days before and find out that we're we don't have enough food trucks coming or whatever the circumstances. Maybe we don't have enough judges coming or whatever. We'll work it out. But the sooner you can register, the easier it is for planning. The smoother the event will go. So, and encourage you, man. It's if you've never been to one, please go to one. And frankly, I don't care which one it is, whether it's ours or others that are out there. If you're new, get to one. You won't regret it. But these are the ones that we have immediately available for us. So,
and we do cover a lot on these lives. We do cover a lot on these lives, but we barely scratch the surface of what you will get hands-on.
Yep, hands-on. Yep, that's right. Terry, last words?
Thanks for having me on. I learn so much from you guys every week. You guys got me thinking where I was just kind of sitting idle for a while in the wintertime thinking, what am I going to do? And boy, you guys give me a lot to think about, a lot to prepare to train this year. I'm going to be really working on grid search timing because I really have a thought behind that now that I didn't think about before. I thought they were all cool, but I think I got me and Matt talked about it quite a bit. I got some testing. I'm going to do some scenarios where I just see how's the grid search age affect the dog's ability to get through it. And then I want to find out where my dog's sweet spot is for an age track versus, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24, 36 hours. Where is she really her sweet spot? Where's she track best at? Because she's pretty fast.
And for you, in terms of how far out it ranges, because I know you're trying to get River to work a little bit closer and you're trying to figure out, you showed me the form that you developed to track and manage that data, Kenny. To see is you close, just how far out she'll range on different ages with as similar ambient conditions as possible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
she's an individual dog. She doesn't need me. I mean, Chad Tate tested me for my off lead, and she blew through it. And he said his comment was, "She doesn't need you. She has all the confidence in the world. She's just going to go find that deer. You just got to catch up to her."
Yeah,
So
Brew's that way too. Brew's that way too. All right, Kenny, final words, buddy.
No, I just appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I get something out of this every week as well. I've been doing this a long time, and I won't claim to know everything, and I learn a lot myself. It also brings back stuff that I forget sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just like, the data thing, and then I pull up the PowerPoint that I use at some of the seminars and realize, oh, I forgot I even had all this compiled into a PowerPoint,
Yeah.
Good
but
information.
yeah. So I appreciate you coming on, Terry, and talking
Yeah,
about the
appreciate you having
data.
me.
And again, this data should be for you and your team.
Yep.
And don't get wrapped up in numbers and sharing numbers. And, I had a 67% recovery rate. And, whenever someone says they had a 35, it doesn't mean they're not as good,
Right.
because there's a lot of variables there. And I think we need to get away from using those statistics as a means of marketing, because we are doing a disservice to the tracking community as a whole, because now that's what hunters are looking at. And honestly, it's mostly new trackers that do that. And I blame it on a lack of mentorship on a lot of that, because we need to be telling these hunters not that, oh, I'm the greatest because I have a 60% recovery rate or is 70-80% that's flawed. We just need to share, hey, I provide a service, my dog is trained, I will help you out. That's what's important.
Yep. Yeah. The status, are you working? Are you getting out? Are you getting on tracks? That, and that's why on my podcast, once in a while somebody will slip it in, but I do not allow percentage in recovery statistics to be talked about for that very reason. It's just it's misleading. So, all right, guys, we've rambled. Our viewership is dwindling because we're at the end. And Terry, hang with us. We'll debrief after this when we go off. But guys, thanks for listening. Keep the comments coming. We got we're working on the next few shows. Kenny and I have been talking about it. We have some. We're waiting to hear back from some guests. I really hope we can pull the one together for next week. The first. I'll say, I don't want to say first choice, but I'm not going to say who it is because it may not work, but I think you guys will like it if it comes together. We will get them on at some point if it doesn't work next week. But good stuff coming. Keep your comments coming. Keep your questions coming. And we look forward to next week, guys. More of the good, less of the bad. We'll talk to you soon.